The Zombie Survival Guide by Max Brooks is considered by many people to be a fantasy book, but it has a lot of practical emergency preparedness, prepping, and survival tips, so we're going to go over a few today. Usually when people mention a zombie apocalypse in a prepping video, you get a few comments saying, grow up. The reaction to this video should be different because it's going to go over real advice that can be applied to prepping, survival, and societal collapse scenarios. Okay, now let's get started on the first tip. First tip is to obey the law. Now, why would that be important in an emergency scenario? Here's the thing, if it's a short-term emergency and you're just going crazy taking out everyone that looks suspicious around your house, then when things go back to normal, you're going to be in a lot of trouble with the police. Maybe you guys heard this before, but the police won't be there to protect you when something happens, but they'll be there to arrest you afterwards. Another tip in this context is that to stay away from illegal weapons. I sell weapons, and what I've seen is that people do want to defend themselves, but they think that just because a weapon is illegal, it must be a lot better. That's not necessarily true. One guy kept on asking me for a butterfly knife or a balisong, which is prohibited in Canada, and you can get a lengthy prison sentence for it. Why not just get a regular pocket knife that you can flick with your finger and get the blade out really quickly? Real brass knuckles would make a great weapon, but they're illegal in Canada, so why not just get hard knuckle gloves instead? Just stick with what's legal so you have peace of mind. Stop chasing different things because you're not allowed to have them. The next tip is to train constantly. No matter what weapon you have, whether it's a machete or a full auto weapon, it should feel like an extension of your body. Train as much as you possibly can with your weapon. Go to the range, take classes, do what you need to do. If other weapons are illegal where you live, maybe get a sword. I actually recommend everyone should have a sword and you should practice with it as well. If you're practicing outside, you can hit a tire or something similar. If you're practicing indoors, get a wooden sword, hit a punching bag, hit a mattress, hit a laundry bag full of clothes, whatever you want. The more you practice, the more comfortable you will be with your weapon during a combat or self-defense scenario. Care for your tools and gear. It could be your weapon that needs to be cleaned and oiled, a knife or an axe that needs to be sharpened. If you have leather boots, real ones, put leather conditioner on them. Whatever gear or stuff that you have that needs maintenance, take care of it. If you mistreat your stuff and don't take care of it and don't maintain it and it gets destroyed, then there's no way to get more stuff in a post-collapse scenario because there won't be no Amazon, there won't be no Walmart. So you really need to take care of what you have. The next tip is to develop the first weapon, which is the human body. If cared for and trained properly, the human body is the greatest weapon on earth. So make sure you have a clean diet and you get a good amount of exercise. If you're a couch potato, you have a really low chance of surviving an emergency. Now that's very general advice. Let's get a little bit more specific. First off, I have to say if you have health issues and your doctor told you can't work out, that's something different. If you aren't able to exercise, then I can't say anything about that. But if you can and you're just being lazy, then you need to start doing something. If you don't work out at all and have been out of shape for many years, then start with just a 5 to 10 minute walk 5 days a week. If you're in okay shape, then maybe do a full body workout 3 days a week. You don't necessarily need a full workout routine that you have to do at a gym. So for example, 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats, wait a minute and 30 seconds and do it again and repeat that 4 times. Do that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That entire workout can be done at home, so you don't have to make the excuse that, oh, I don't have a gym membership or I can't go to the gym. Okay, I'm going to stop with the fitness stuff for now because I can already picture everyone clicking off the video. Next, we have some tips on defending your home and staying in it. You don't have to leave the city as soon as an emergency happens because first off, where are you going to go? If you have another place that you can go that's like a family member's house or a friend's house, you're still limited on the amount of stuff that you can take with you. Even if there's a spot in the woods that you're going to go to, you're limited on the amount of supplies that you can keep in your vehicle or carry. Also, keep in mind that no matter whose house you're staying at, they're eventually going to get tired of you after a while. Your home is your fortress. You can defend yourself better, you're comfortable, and you have all your supplies there. In many cases, it's better to stay at home and defend your castle. Also, keep in mind that when an emergency happens and it's announced on the news, every single person will try to evacuate from the city. The roads will be completely blocked and most likely you're going to be stuck in traffic for a long time and eventually you may have to leave your car. You're probably going to be better off staying at home, getting your weapons ready, and staying alert. First off, if electricity is still working in the early stages, then arm your alarm system and check that your security cameras are working if you have them. Put a door security bar on your front door. Lots of companies make them. I know Master Lock makes them as well. Your backyard patio glass door can easily be broken, so consider retractable security gates. A 10-foot tall chain link fence around your property can provide you a lot of safety. A few people who are armed and know how to use their weapon and have good communication can defend your property from a very large group of attackers. When we're talking about apartments, they're pretty safe because there's only one point of entry. And apartment doors are usually built to a very high standard and they have steel in them and they're very hard to break in. The other thing is that there are so many tenants there and the chance of your apartment being targeted out of everyone is pretty low. Also, if you have friends that live on the same floor as you can help each other out. There's strength in numbers, so if there's a few of you, you can work together and fight. You all have different skills that might be useful to each other. Maybe you need to barter or trade for things that you don't have and the other person does. The next tip we have is to prepare for a siege or your home getting surrounded. Each home arsenal should include the following: a rifle with 500 rounds, 12 gauge shotgun, 250 shells, 45 caliber pistol, 250 rounds. If possible, a silencer for the pistol. A crossbow with 150 bolts if the other options aren't legal. Also keep in mind that the benefit with crossbows is that they don't make a lot of noise like the other weapons do. In many situations, being discreet is a lot better. A telescopic sight and night vision. A sword or katana. A wakizashi, which is basically a short sword. 2 knives with smooth 6 to 8 inch blades. And finally, a hatchet. This applies to one person and should be adjusted based on the number of people in your household. These are the supplies it says to have in your home in case of a long-term collapse scenario. Water, 3 quarts per day for cooking and cleaning. A countertop water filter with replacement filters. A large container for collecting rainwater. Iodine and or water purification tablets. Canned food, 3 cans per person per day. 2 emergency stoves. This could be propane stoves, butane stoves, or it could just be a portable electric stove connected to a generator. Advanced first aid kit with antibiotics and field surgery implements. A bicycle-powered electric generator. Also have a gas generator. 20 gallons of gasoline. Rechargeable battery-powered shortwave radio. 2 battery-powered flashlights. 2 battery-powered electric lanterns. 2 rechargeable battery-powered and or solar-powered radios. Appropriate reinforcement materials including lumber, mortar, bricks, etc. Extensive toolkit including sledgehammer, axe, handsaw, etc. Lime and or bleaching powder in sufficient supply to maintain latrine. 1 high-powered telescope with spare lenses and cleaning equipment. 15 emergency flares. 35 chemical light sticks or glow sticks. 5 fire extinguishers. 2 sets of earplugs. Spare parts for all the machinery mentioned as well as the user manuals. Stockpile an extensive library of manuals including a general disaster manual. Another good tip from the book is to dig a vegetable garden. It says to eat the vegetables you have in the garden and save the canned food for later. Obviously, you're going to plant the seeds and learn about gardening before an emergency happens. You're not going to do it after the apocalypse and just start planting seeds and have food the next day. It's a long process. If your latrine is outside, keep it far away from the garden as possible. For electricity, always resort to your manual bicycle generator. The gas generator is loud, you will draw attention, and you will use up your gasoline. If you don't want to draw attention and you have the money, then a solar generator might be a better option. Plus, you don't have to worry about getting more gasoline once it runs out. Make sure you're always patrolling your property after it all hits the fan. If you're in a group, you're going to run 24-hour watches and switch places every 8 hours. If you're all alone, you really have to make sure all your windows are barred and your doors are secure. Sleep with your flashlight and your weapon nearby in case something happens at night or someone tries to break in. It says that if you have a basement, do all your cooking there. I'm assuming this is using an electric stove and a generator that's not powered by gas, like a bicycle generator or your solar generator. If it's a propane stove, then you'll need to open a window. The carbon monoxide buildup in a closed space is a really dangerous thing. Now for this next tip, we'll just say that all of the bodies of the zombies should be burned or buried. If you have a corpse on your property, it's a really quick way to spread disease and it'll smell really bad. So make sure you bury that zombie or burn the body. Now this next piece of advice is something I'm usually thinking about. It says to ride your stationary bike and do bodyweight workouts to maintain your fitness. Staying fit and working out before a total collapse scenario is one thing, but I don't know about working out after the collapse happens. The issue I'm seeing is that if it's a total collapse scenario, I'm going to be hungry all the time because I'm going to be rationing my food. And if I'm working out, I'm just going to burn more calories and it's going to make it worse. I will also probably have a limited water supply and I don't want to keep on getting thirsty and drinking more water than I have to. Any sort of maintenance of my fitness that needs to be done will be done when I'm going out and looking for supplies. It'll be done while I'm doing manual labor, gardening, and stuff like that, chopping wood maybe. To me, having a workout routine after societal collapse seems like a bad idea. Now, if I had a constant and reliable source of water and food, like lots of it, and knowing that it's never going to run out, then I could work out. Then that's fine. Then I would want a fitness routine to stay strong. But other than that, I don't think so. If you're still watching this, then let me know what your opinion on working out after the apocalypse is. Do you think it's something that we should do or we should avoid because it's going to burn calories and just waste more food? The next tip is to make sure your escape route and your gear is always ready to go. If things really get too dangerous, then the best choice in some cases is to grab your stuff and go. How you evacuate depends on what you have. You might have to grab your bug out bag and just walk. If you have gas for your vehicle and the roads aren't blocked, or maybe you have a special route that no one knows about, then yeah, you'll use your vehicle. What I think a good idea in most scenarios will just be a bicycle. If you have a mountain bike or off-road bike, you can pretty much take it anywhere. Even if there are vehicles on the road that are stuck, you can just cut right through them. Another good tip that we preppers always say, and that's also in the book, is that when the chaos begins, fill your bathtub. The water could get shut off, and having your bathtub full of water, at the very least for cleaning, will be a really good idea. Big supermarkets and well-known stores like Walmart are going to be a dangerous place to go because that's where everyone will be. Also, the food is going to run out very quickly, maybe in the first 2 or 3 days. But smaller family-owned stores and bodegas might be a better idea because not many people will think to go there. Warehouses could be a good place to stay because they don't have a lot of windows at ground level and they have very easily secured entrances. You probably also noticed that warehouse doors are usually very thick and strong and they're hard to break in. Warehouses usually have a lot of space, so if you have a big group, that might be a great spot for all of you guys to set up. Of course, warehouses are going to be a target for looters, so you guys have to be ready to defend yourself as well. If you have a big group that's armed, it shouldn't be a problem. There are a lot more tips in this book, but this video is probably already too long. I'm going to look at the analytics of this video and see if people actually watched it till the end, and I'm going to see how many likes there are, and depending on that, I might do a part 2. If it's a complete fail, then I won't do a part 2. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.